up comes from Idealist, aka Dr. Strains, aka Sorcerer Supreme, aka the Kosher Cube, aka Sleepy Sensei,
Okay.
Indie Idealist.
Yep.
Um, they write, "Dear fan fam." Okay, I get it, fan fam. And this is actually directed to Ben as a self-described reformed hotep.
Oh.
Are you willing to reconsider a Poe Finn romance in the
Oh.
next Star Wars movie?
Wow.
You can't say inclusion is revolution, then turn around and say as long as it's not gays in space.
Oh. Ooh, that's wild, disrespectful. Um,
Mm.
I did not know. Like we were just talking about old episodes earlier, and I'm not sure. Maybe I did say that on an
Did
old
you?
episode. I don't know because okay. I will say that it's
I
one
mean,
of
not
those.
verbatim, but did you?
I don't know. Is he though?
Tell
But
the
it's like
truth.
it's one
Tell
of
the
those.
truth.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, this is such a complicated subject. All right, because of the thing that black men don't get a lot of representation of like straight in science fiction on film. I'll say don't get a lot of representation of being straight males, of being in relationships with women, et cetera, et cetera. Blah.
But I would argue that they don't get any representation, period. So how could you expect to then say, oh, there's not enough uh uh just straight black men around when they're not even there to begin with?
Facts.
So
There's that.
how could you make that assumption? But anyway, continue.
No, that there's that side of it, and that's exactly what I'll say. And then there's the other side of it, the side that really has me concerned. Like as in today, when we see, just mind blowing, saddening shit, like a 9-year-old child committing suicide,
Yeah.
and this is something we talk about on the show so much, and I don't think people really understand why it bothers me so much. When people talk about like when Lando Calrissian was considered to be pansexual, which to me is an obvious effing thing because he lives in the future and he sleeps with aliens, so he's obviously pansexual.
Mm-hmm.
And those and aliens aren't going to have the same foolish or not foolish, you know, such straightforward ideals of gender that Western modern civilization has. Even ancient, not ancient, but even old African civilization, old Native American, a lot of things, there's a lot of genders in them. They weren't just male and female. They didn't just consider people like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we do in this day. And if we look at things like Star Trek, where it's in the future, where Gene Roddenberry wanted men to wear skirts in the pilot episode of Star Trek, but he wasn't allowed to by the network. But he wanted to show that because he wanted people to understand that in the future, gender wouldn't be considered the same way. Sexuality wouldn't be considered the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But we constantly talk about it the same way. And then that has the effect that we don't understand because, we get not a lot of representation, but we get more than we used to. We get our, fair share of representation, but not everyone gets that level of representation. So not everyone gets to see themselves as a hero. So not everyone get, like I always say again and again, like was said in that book, not everyone gets to see themselves as a human because of that. They don't see themselves on screen. And so that's like Poe and Finn can do whatever they want. Any character can do whatever they want. And shout out to Jay Smooth, who said something else about this today. Like, if you don't agree with this, then create your own. Tell your own story where it's, the straight black male in space. Tell your story where it's not that. You might not be able to tell a Star Wars story because you don't own Star Wars. But Star Wars started as a small independent film. You can make your own film. But other than that, like, let's stop worrying about these characters that we don't own, that we didn't create, and that should be anything because they're on the big screen and they need to represent all sides of life.
Well said, Ben. I mean, and that concludes the Make sure if you have any questions for us, they could be existential. They could be not really existential. They could be asking us to name your child. They could just be what's our favorite, I don't know, Jamaican spot in Brooklyn. Whatever questions you have for us, hit us up, contact@fanbros.com. You can also hit us up on the Twitters @ForAllNerds or on our IG @ForAllNerds as well. And what else we got going on, Ben? I mean,
well, thank you, man. I'm glad we got through that. Ooh, I feel like I blacked out there for a second. I hope that worked out for everyone out there. Yeah, like you said, hit us up at contact@fanbros.com and hit me up at DJ Ben. I mean, because I will distress this, like I said before, as a former hotep, I didn't always have these views. I didn't always think like this. I used to be even a person who wouldn't say, don't change your character skin, color. That, like Hawkeye can't be black, he's white in the comics. Why don't you just make a new character? And now it's like, that's so
Oh, how
stupid.
much you've grown.
Oh my God, it's so foolish. Jesus, Lord, have mercy. So yeah, thank y'all all for being with us on this journey throughout the show. If I did say it in the past, F that, because that was wrong. This is the For All Nerds. Inclusion is revolution.